is to substitute these angles, different angles, onto the sine, so we can draw the sine graph. Let's try to do that. So if you use your calculator, if you do sine 0, you should get 0, right? Sine 0, you should get 0. So put 0 here. And the next one, sine 30. If you know your value, you know it's going to be half. So it's going to be 0.5. Or you can use your calculator. Round to one decimal place. 60 will be 0.8 or 0.9. Let's see, what's sine 60? Or root 3 over 2, but we need to know the decimal value of that so we can plot the points. Very slow. All right, okay, good. 60, what do you get? 0.86, so about 0.9. And then sine 90 is 1, right? And then you keep going. So do, okay, good. 0.9. I think if you keep going, you just get these numbers. You start to repeat, isn't it? All right, so you just use your calculator. Okay, use your calculator, fill this in, and then we'll plot the points to draw the graph of a sine ratio. So we're going to draw the graph of the ratio against the angle. See how the graph changes as the angle increases. Okay. And we need to get a lot of these angles so we can get a detailed picture of the graph. If we only select a few points, that will not be enough to give us an accurate picture of the graph. So we'll plot these points, and then later on we'll learn a fast way of drawing this graph because it takes so long to find all the different values. Okay, let's continue. Negative 0.9, negative 0.1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 0.9, negative 0.5, 0 again. Okay, let's plot the points. So you get these points, 0, 0.5, 0.9, and 90. So you get a graph, like something like this, right? If you plot the points, you start to get a picture. What else are there? So we'll just keep going. You get the picture. Good. You got the picture. Okay. Alright, hang on. Almost finished. Alright, once you drew this, got the points, so the obvious thing is to join them together. Obviously, it will not be a straight line. It will be a curve. So join them. So try to draw it, and then you get a smooth curve. Alright, draw it slowly like this. So you get this sine graph. That look like this. It's like a wave, isn't it? Like this. Alright, so that's your sine graph. Now, do I have to do this in the exam, plotting all the points? Well, no, because it takes so long to get the points. You just need to get the shape. So memorize the shape. It looks like this. Goes up to 1, goes down, and then go up again. Okay. And then in a minute, I'm going to show you a faster way of doing this. Because you don't need that many points. You just need a few points. And if you remember the shape, you can draw it. Okay? Alright, so hopefully you'll finish. And also, I'm going to show you some animation available in HotMaths to show you where does the graph come from, how it connects with the unit circle. Alright, hopefully you're ready. You drew the graph. Okay. Hopefully you're ready. Okay, so I'm going to show you an animation. If you haven't finished, can you please pay attention on the board? So there's this widget available from HotMaths. So if you go to, you can do that later. So all you have to do is just search for that in here, in this chapter, 4 graphs of trig functions. And if you click on resources, there's this widget, trig curves from a unit circle. You can click this button to enlarge it, which I got it over here. Okay, watch very carefully. Okay, now, Okay, on this is the unit circle. Now remember, what's the definition of sine? Sine is the y value. Now currently the y value is 0, isn't it? So it starts off from 0 with angle 0. See, this is the y value, right? The y value increases to 1, and then after that it starts to decrease again, right? The y value. And then what happens after 180 degree becomes negative, right? Negative. So negative and gets very high, and then after that goes back to here again, and then the pattern repeats. So that's the sine graph, right? Okay, now next we're going to draw the cos graph, but before you do the table value, let's have a look at the cos graph. Cos graph, actually we want to look at cos graph here. Let's go back to this, go back to your worksheet. So what you can do is, when you draw the graph, it can go like this. So you can find out the y value, so if you plot these 4 points, so this is 0, 1, 1, 0, negative 1, 0, and that's 0, negative 1. Now remember, the sine is the y value. So you can use this to work out, this is going to be 0, 1, 0 again, negative 1, and then 0. So you plot these points. So when 0 degree is 0, they increase to 1, they increase to 0, go back to negative 1, and then 0 again. Okay? Now, I'm going to use a magic pen so that it just deletes. Like, of course, you don't go like this, right? It's not a straight line. Okay? Actually, it's not even a magic pen. This should be this one. Alright, so that will disappear. Alright, so that will be a one graph. Remember, it's a curve. So when you join them, be sure to remember this graph. It looks like this. So what you need to do, you draw a curve. Right? So you can draw it in under 10 seconds. You don't need to do all the values. Okay? Draw like this. Oh, I'm still on magic pen, so I have to use a proper pen now. Okay, so it doesn't disappear. Okay, like that. Okay, we may just cut this off. You may do that by yourself later on. And now we're going to pay our attention to the cos graph. Let's draw a quick way. So we'll go back to the widget. What does cos graph look like? Remember, cos graph is the x value. Oops. Now let's see how that works. The x value starts from 1. The x value, the blue part, goes here and then becomes 0. And then becomes negative. The x value is negative. And then still negative. And then becomes 0 again. And then increases back to 1 again. So that's your cos graph. Looks like a valley, like this. So we're going to draw it in a quick way. Okay. All right. So I will leave this to yourself. You can just plot the points later. Now we're going to do the quick way straight away. Okay, let's go through this bit. So what do we have here is the points. So this is 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. Remember, the cos is the x value. So 1, 0, negative 1, 0, and then 1 again, right? And plot these points. So you got 1, 0, negative 1, 0, 1. So it goes like this. So like that. All right. Now, how do you get better at this? The easiest way and the most obvious way and the most effective way is to do them repeatedly. So we have to do a lot of practice. So if you go to the next page, the 6th graph you can use the circle to help you. All right, fill them out. After 6th graph, you get better. After another 6th graph, you get even better. Okay, so can you practice this now? Draw them. Draw them. Okay, so on the next page, draw this a few times, draw this a few times. Okay? Okay. All right, draw the graph so I could get you started. So use this to help you. Sine, this is 0, and then this is, right, 1, and then goes back to 0, goes to -1, and then goes back to 0, right? And then do another one, another one, another one. Okay? Give you about 5 minutes to finish. Then we'll move on to the next section. Okay? Thank you very much. Start recording. Okay, let's look at this page. Alright, a bit bigger. Okay. So we draw one more graph. Now, why do I need to study graph? Because it will help us to solve trigonometric equation. So let's look at the graph of sine for a minute. So we drew this graph, which looked like this. Now we'll be able to draw with freehand very easily due to the practice you made. Now, after we drew the graph, we can work out what angle makes the sine ratio 0. So what's the angle going to be? When is it going to be 0? When is the ratio 0? It's going to be 0 degrees, 180 degrees, and 360 degrees. Does that make sense? So when theta is these three angles, the ratio is 0. 0. Continue. Now, things get a bit complicated when the values are not 0. Things like, if I choose this answer like -12, which is over here, that's negative. Let me write this again. Okay, -12. If you draw a line there, you cross at these two angles. You have to work out what these are. Now, that's going to be harder, isn't it? Because it doesn't show directly, whereas 0 is easy. In here, it doesn't. It's somewhere between 180 and 270, and the other one is somewhere between 180, 360, and 270. So you have two answers, but what are these answers? What are the angles? So we have to use a different method. Let's outline the method. All right, so the first step is, because the ratio is negative, using the all station to central, which quadrant is sine theta negative? Which quadrant? Is T negative and C. So it must be third and fourth. Okay, so do that first. So they give you the ratio, you have to work out the angle. You do the reverse. Now, what would the angle be? Now, first we have to work out what we call the related angle. Related. Now, how do I work out the related? You do shift sine, but this is the important part. You put the positive. Remember, it's an acute angle. Do not put negative, positive. All right, it's not a mistake. I deliberately take the negative out. You always put positive. So if you know the exact answer, you can work out shift sine 0.5, which is half, 30 degrees. 30, 30. All right, okay, now we have to work out theta. Now, how do I work out theta? Now, to work out theta is quite simple. In the third quadrant, you have to go 180 plus the related angle to get the answer in the third quadrant. Or, to get the other angle, you do 360, subtract by the related angle. All right, next. What's 180 plus 30? 310. And what's 360 minus 30? 330. So we got it. These are the two angles. So if you go back to this diagram, the two question mark is 210, 330. These two angles. Get the idea? So when it is -12, you can't use the graph. You have to draw the quadrant. find the related angle, and then work out. Okay? Alright, try the next one. So this is the procedure. I've outlined the procedure in this box here. Find the quadrant. So when we solve a trigonometric equation, find the quadrant, draw the ray, find the related angle, and then find the actual angle. Okay? Alright, let's try the next one. Okay, so before I do that, maybe I should highlight this. Highlight this bit. There you go. Right, this is important. Alright, let's try to do the next question. And then there's some practice question after this page, which you will try in your own time. Let's make this a bit bigger. Okay, let's get ready. Cos theta is 0.3. Okay, it's positive, so which quadrant? The fourth one or the first one, right? 0.3 is positive. Okay, let's find the related angle, cos inverse 0.3. Calculator, correct your answer to one decimal place. Shift cos 0.3 equal 72.5. So you go 72.5 and then 72.5. Now how do I find the angle theta? You go, well, in the first quadrant it's just the same as the related angle. But in the fourth quadrant, you have to go 360, subtract by the related angle, which means that the answer will be, use a calculator, so do 360 minus answer, you get 287.5. 287.5. Alright, so we found the two angles, so it's very, very convenient. Now, how do I get better at this? Deliberate practice. So if you practice a lot of this, I've got 2 pages of equation for you to do. So I'll set out for you, find the quadrant, related angle, solve. And then another page, and then answers. Good luck. Have a try. Shall I get you started? Maybe I'll do one with you. And if you know how to do the first one, the rest are easy. Let's do the first one. Watch this. Half. First and the second quadrant. What's the related angle? Shift sine half. What's shift sine half? 30 degrees. Let's write 30. 30. 30. How do you find x? Well, it must be 30 or 180 minus 30. What would it be? 150. How do I know it's right? I prepared the answers for you. So if you go to the next page, 30 and 150, I got it right. So give yourself a tick. Okay, now try the next one, and then the next one. And then by the time you get to 12th one, you think this is super easy. You can just do it without even using a calculator, maybe. Okay, have a try. Alright, so I'll stop the video, and then tomorrow we will go through the sum